Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some fried chicken, smashed potatoes, garlic parmesan, spinach, and we're going to bake up our mini bowls. So let's get these scored and ready. So I've got some sheets of parchment paper out here, and we're going to just do kind of like an assembly line. I'm going to score them all and then we'll transfer them. That way we're not moving around too much. Okay. We're going to put our first one out. Not sure which one this one is, but we have 6 different flavors in here. Maybe when I score it, I can see exactly what's in it. But I always pop it off sometimes. Let's get that back on there. Okay, so let's give it. Popped it again. Okay. So this one is our cheddar cheese and chive. Got that one scored. This one is our lime and cardamon loaf. We actually had these have been cold proofing for almost 2 days now. I didn't feel like baking them up yesterday. And this is our, I think this is our just a good old traditional loaf here. Slide it out. And give it a nice little score. And this one is, I think this looks like cinnamon sugar. It was going to be cinnamon sugar and raisin, but I got boycotted. Oh, chocolate chip. This is mini chocolate chip. Give a nice little score across. This one is Italian herbs and cheese. You see, it's really fun when you do like mini loaves. Is now I'm gonna have like 6 different sourdough loaves, and they're enough to like split for 2 people, or if you're really feeling the bread, 1 person. But just make yourself feel better and say it's for 2. This one's our cinnamon sugar, or kind of like a cinnamon swirl. And so we started with these. We made the basic. Pop these over here before they all fall. The basic traditional loaf, and then when I got the time to do the lamination, I cut each one into 6 like pieces, the big dough, and then we laminated and added in some different inclusions. Now these are very, very hot. So I had my oven preheating to 500 degrees. Let's see, it's nice and smoky. And we're going to add in our little mini loaves. There we go. We're going to set them in. Be careful not to touch your mini Dutch ovens or you will get burned. They hold their heat really well. And then we'll go back and put our little lids on them. And there we go. Let it fall down. I almost just picked up those lids with my fingers. Would not have been fun. And then we're going to pop this in the oven at 500. And we're going to do 20 minutes with the lids on at 500. Then we're going to take the lids off and we're going to do 13 minutes at 450. So they don't need to bake quite as long as your traditional like loaf, where we do 20 and 20. It is heavy though. Ooh. I'm going to go over here. Got to do it in stations because this is a heavy pan. Just imagine the weight of 6 mini Dutch ovens. And we're going to slide these in here. Got my workout in. And now I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes at 500. And then we'll take it off and the lids, and we'll do for 13 minutes at 450. I don't know why I held up 2 for 13 because that makes no sense. Okay, now we've got our chicken going. So let me turn my water up here. So we're going to do a quick parboil on our chicken. So we're going to put our drumsticks into our water. We'll put some salt in there, and we're going to boil them for just about 5 minutes. So you're not cooking them all the way through, but that is just going to allow them to cook better when you are frying them up versus having to fry them for a long time in the oil. So we're going to do our quick parboil. And it's just a great way to have a really tender chicken, like a fried chicken, that will be just absolutely delicious. So we're done with that one. And I'm going to bring my boiling water up here. And we are going to be doing some smashed potatoes. So we're going to add our potatoes in here. I'm just going to add them one at a time so I don't splash myself. But these are just little tiny new potatoes. We're going to boil them until soft, and then we'll smash them and kind of fry them in a garlic butter. So they'll have a crispy edge. Well, yes, I meant I wasn't going to just dump them in there. I realize they're not one at a time. You're correct. But I'm not dropping them in like I've burned myself plenty of times in the kitchen to learn better than that. And I say that, but I still burn myself all the time. Okay, while we have our chicken parboiling and our potatoes boiling up here, and we're slowly being boiled to death as well, we're going to prepare our dredge for our chicken. So we're going to do our spiced flour dredge, and then we will, after we dredge it all one time, we're going to put some panko breadcrumbs in. So we're going to start off with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So 1 and 2. This out of the way since we won't need that. And then we're kind of doing a kind of a savory spiced, a little different than I normally do because I realized I had no paprika and no onion powder. So we're changing it up. Got to add those onto my list. So we're going to start with about a tablespoon of garlic salt. There we go. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of, this is like a Mrs. Dash's everything seasoning. So this has a lot of good spices in it. We're going to do 2 tablespoons. So that's 1, 2. Make sure you put lots of spices in because you want your chicken to be well seasoned, because once you fry it up, there's no adding more spices. We're going to add in about a tablespoon of oregano. And about a teaspoon and a half of ground black pepper. If you like it a bit spicier, add in some cayenne pepper for it, but we're kind of mild here. And this is making our spice dredge for our fried chicken, which we'll be having with smashed potatoes and garlic spinach, butter garlic spinach. And then we're going to add in some Old Bay, which is really like a seasoned salt. We're just going to add in about 2 teaspoons. It has some paprika in it, which will help give it a nice kind of golden color to it. So we got this. Let me add my salt to my parboil here. We're going to add about a tablespoon. You don't need much because it's just a quick boil. Give it a stir. There we go. Now let me grab a fork so we can stir that up and get all these spices in there. But you see we've got this quite a tower of spices here. It's going to make it for it delicious. I feel like some of the biggest mistakes with making fried chicken is you underspice your breading or your dredge, and then you have a really bland fried chicken, or you burn your fried chicken, and that's happening where you cook it on too high of heat, and then you burn it before you can cook it all the way through. But doing the parboil helps it to where you can get it cooked through, and then you just kind of cook it on a nice kind of medium temperature for that nice crispy skin. Okay, we've got our spices all mixed up in this flour. Now we're going to whip our eggs up. I'm using just 4 eggs, and we're going to beat them, and this is going to be for like the egg wash. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Give my hands a quick wash because I got some eggy on them. Okay, now let's beat these eggs. You want to make sure you get the yolks really well mixed into the egg whites because you don't want to have any long, stringy, like snotty pieces of egg. Otherwise, that will just like slide right off your chicken and you'll just have it wasted. Now, if you wanted to, you could add in like 1/4 cup of buttermilk to this or cream and some lemon juice, and you'll have more of a like a lighter, I want to say like kind of a battered fried chicken if you wanted to. There we go. Just making sure I have it all mixed up nice and well. Beautiful. Okay, done with this. Let's check on our chicken. I think it's been about 5 minutes for some of these, but I'm going to look at them. Again, we're not cooking them all the way through. We're just getting the start on there. Let's do, I'm just kind of waiting for them to get a little bit white, and then those should be perfect. So we're going to take them out. I'm just going to take them out one at a time. And then we got to pat them dry so that then we can do our dredging. Here we go. Ooh, I got 2 on this guy.
We're going to do one at a time.
I caught it there. Now, again, this is going to leave you with a really tender, juicy chicken that can get cooked all the way through. But again, remember, right now, it's not cooked all the way through right now. Dip this guy. He's got a vein. Get that vein off.
You have a question? Did you season the water?
I put in about a tablespoon of salt. So it's not very seasoned, but just enough to give it nice and juicy. That salt will keep it kind of like a brine, but not a true one. But just a little bit. You do want to do something because it kind of really permeates into it. And you could do the parboiling part before and then like a day before and just have your chicken in the fridge and stuff like that if you wanted to do some parts of the prep up. Do I have it all? I do. I'm going to turn that off. Bring this over here. And I'll get my chicken ready. Oh, let me grab my oil. I realized I never grabbed my oil.
You have a question? How many people are you cooking for tonight?
Tonight, we're cooking for 8 again. My mom's still out of town, so just for 8. Now, granted, a couple of them are little. So it's my 7, which is my husband and I, and our 5 kids that are 18 months, 4, 9, 13, and 15. And then my stepdad. Okay, let me grab my paper towels here. And we're just going to pat them all kind of dry. And this is just so that the breading, the powdered dredge will stick to it nicely. Now, again, this chicken isn't cooked all the way through yet. We'll fry it and finish it up, but it has started the cooking process and it's still hot. And even though it's out of the boiling water, it is still it's still cooking because it's hot. And for like the drumsticks, it's about 5 minutes in the water in a parboil. Okay, we're going to do our dredge and our egg wash here after it. So we're going to dredge everything first into our seasoned flour. There we go.
You have a question. Could you use the water from the chicken as a stock?
You could. It wouldn't have much flavor though, because again, the chicken hasn't been cooking long enough for the natural fat and flavors to be rendered into it. But I mean, it would just be more of like a salty water. Wouldn't have the good chicken flavor in it. There we go. But if you were going to make like a gravy or something like this, you could use that part of it as a like the base for it and add a little bit of chicken bouillon, and you could make like a chicken gravy with it. There we go. We're just going to coat everything up in this flour dredge that we seasoned up well. And then we're going to add in some panko breadcrumbs, and then we'll do our egg wash. We'll dip it in the egg and then into the bread or this flour mixture with panko breadcrumbs in it.
You have a question? How the kids like the watermelon?
Oh, they really, really liked it. They, my daughter Evie, who is not a fan of watermelon, she actually really liked it. Jackie loved it. Teddy loved it. Torrin, he doesn't like grapes, so he liked the tropical punch one. Elena, she's my plain Jane girl. She said she liked regular watermelon better. And same with my husband. I thought the tropical punch one was the best. Even though it's strange because I'm a grape person. I love grape like soda, grape candy, grape everything. But I felt like the tropical punch was the best. I think if you can get a lemonade would be even better because it will give you a nice tartness to it. So I might try to find some like country time lemonade and do it with that and see how it is. But they definitely liked it. Okay, let's get this coated up. And beautiful. This is my clean hand here. I'm going to pull out. We're going to add in about 1.5 cups of panko bread. Oh, I just totally made a mess there. That's about the rest of the bag. Throw that away. We'll recycle that. And then I'm just going to mix these panko breadcrumbs in here. And this is going to give you a nice, really crunchy, extra, the extra crunchy crust on it.
You have a question? What does parboiling the chicken do before you fry it?
So it helps you cook part of the chicken through, so you don't have to fry it as long to cook it all the way through, and it keeps it really juicy and tender. And so it's just a great way to cook like a drumstick, which you can't really cut thin to make sure it's cooked all the way, and keeps it really tender, so you don't, it's juicy and tender. You don't burn the skin. So it just kind of helps make it easier to do. We're now going to dip everything in our egg mixture and then into our breading. There you go. So you just want to make sure it's coating. The whole dredge part creates kind of like a binder onto the chicken and allows this next crispy layer to really stick to it, which is important for having that really good crispy skin on your fried chicken. There we go. And
you have a question? Do you only parboil with bone-in chicken?
You can do it with like a full-on chicken breast. And so it does work. It actually takes a little bit longer with a chicken breast than it does with the bone. The bone conducts the heat a little bit better. But I find with chicken breasts, I don't do it because I just cut the chicken breasts in half and make them thinner. And then you don't have to do it with there. I think it's better with dark meat, which is, the thigh and the leg and the drumsticks, versus a breast, which is a leaner meat. I think that fat helps keep it nice and moist and flavorful. Here we go. Pat this in, but you can do it.
Yeah, question. What is in the powder bowl, and how do you prevent the breading from falling off the chicken?
So in this bowl we had our spiced flour, which was flour, kind of Mrs. Dash's blend, garlic, salt, oregano, black pepper, Old Bay, and flour. And then we added, after we dredged it the first time, so you see how these are coated in flour and these ones are a bit crispier, that has the panko in it. To keep the breading from falling off, you dredge it first in flour, then you do the egg mixture, and then you do your final coating. That initial dredging in the flour creates like a glue that binds the second layer of breading onto it. If you don't do that, what will happen is when you go to fry it, that whole crispy layer will fall right off. So it's a really important step for making it like stick on there. There we go.
You got a question? What sides tonight?
We are going to have smashed potatoes that will fry with like a garlic butter, and then a garlic Parmesan spinach. I was going to do cream kale, but I realized I am completely out of cream, so no cream kale tonight. And let me this guy coated. But you see, and one of the things that's really important about that dredge is if you try to do just the egg wash, then the breadcrumbs, oh, that egg will just slide right off your chicken. And then you don't have a binder that keeps it on. And I always try to do just one hand to do this because as you see, it gets very, very messy. So I always like to keep one hand free for emergencies or to be able to turn the sink on when I'm ready to give my hand a good scrub. So we're going to pack it around. And then we'll start heating up our oil to fry it in there because we'll have to do this in a couple batches. But it will be delicious. It'll have a nice crispy thing. This is a mild chicken. Like it's well spiced, but not spicy. We like ours mild here. But if you want to add a little kick to it, you could add either some cayenne pepper or some Cajun spices, and then you'll have a nice, lovely kind of a Cajun fried, a bit spicier chicken. There we go. And you always want to have enough of your little powdered mixture to really kind of clump it on. Do you see how I'm just like smushing it on there and pushing it around to help it stick on? Got 2 more left. And then we can clean up a little bit of this mess. I will say it always gets a little messy with the breading part, but I find it's the best way. You know, there's points where you can like put it in a bag and you shake it, but it doesn't ever give you that nice, thick, crispy skin. That's more of like a thinner one, which works on like an oven baked chicken or something like that. But if you want a true, crispy, delicious skin, you need to get it in there and make sure you really cover it up. And also, I make it's key, make sure you season your flour first and not after. A lot of people will just do a regular plain flour dredging. Then they add all of your spices. Add spices first. That's going to make sure you get lots of spices on your chicken because if it's not spiced, it will be bland. Okay. Let's get this cleaned up a little bit. I'll give my hands a good scrub because it gets quite messy. Okay. And let's get our oil starting to heat up because it takes a little time for it to get up. Now I use olive oil because I love olive oil and I don't heat it so high that it gets to its smoking point. I try to keep it around a good 350. And that way I only have to buy one oil. You want to have a good layer of oil on the bottom of your pan because you want it to fry up nicely, but you don't need your chicken to be completely submerged because we will be flipping it halfway through. So you don't need to add so much that it will be drowning in it. Let me clear up a little bit of this mess here before we do our next thing. Since I will say it always gets very, very messy with the breading. But it's delicious. Okay. Scoop it here. It's worth it. I always say cooking is not clean. It's not the prettiest thing, but it makes very, very delicious things. Always have my trash can by me. There we go. Okay, we've got this ready. Our Dutch ovens are about to beep, so let's start heading over there so we can take the lids off of them, and then we'll do the second part. Yeah, we've got about 20 seconds left on them, but I can smell the cinnamon one. It smells delicious. Okay. Nice and hot. Okay, so this is the second part of baking up our sourdoughs. We're going to take the lids off here. So, whew. Did they pop up too much? Did they got stuck? There we go. That one must have been just a really big one. Uh-oh. We got some big pops on these. There we go. Just 2 of them. They must have been a little bit larger than some of the others. Oh, there's the chocolate. You can see the chocolate melted on there. But here is our mini loaves. We'll pull some of this away so when it pops out, but they are going to be absolutely delicious. We're going to pop these back in the oven at 450. Okay. And they'll bake up. So those were definitely popping. Okay, so we're going to change the temperature down to 450. So we had them at 500. So you want to bake it at 450 now. And then we do it for 13 minutes since these are smaller ones. My big loaves I do for 20 minutes. But if you do these for 20 minutes, then you're going to have a really dark brown crust on them. And you don't want that. Okay. We've got our oil here. I don't think it's quite ready yet, but let's check on our potatoes and see if they've softened up enough and are ready for the second part. Got to catch one. Fairly, I think they still need about 2 minutes before they're ready. My fork went in there pretty easy, but not as easy as I'd like. Okay, while we're waiting for our oil to get nice and hot, let's cut up our spices. We're going to make kind of like an herby sour cream for our smashed potatoes. So what we'll do is when we dump out our potatoes, we'll smash them in there and fry them so they'll have a crispy edge on one side. And then we're going to make this sour cream that has some parsley and green onions and garlic salt in them to kind of dip them with. I think our oil, though, is getting there. I think a bubble of water caught in there, starting to sizzle. So we'll do our water test in just a second. We want a quick sizzle. There we go. Got a pretty one. So I'm going to turn it down to about medium heat now. And you want to make sure you have a nice sizzle in there before you add in your chicken, because you want nice crispy chicken, not soggy chicken. So we're going to add all of our little drumsticks. We're going to have to do this in 2 batches because it's not all going to fit in here. I'm going to try to get 50% in there. But you see when we add each little drumstick in, our oil level goes up a little bit more. There we go. I think we can add one more. And we're going to let those fry on our medium heat. So I had my oil heating up to high, and then we're going to reduce it down to a medium so it doesn't get too hot and you burn them. And we're going to fry them until they're nice and golden brown. And it should just take a few minutes on each side because we did do that parboil, which helps with the cooking process. There we go. Let's get our green onions sliced up, and we're going to make a nice herby sour cream to go on top of our smashed potatoes, which will be frying up in just a second. They should be almost ready. You don't want to take them out before they're really tender because you got to be able to smash them down nicely when we fry them up, because you're just going to get the crispy edge on them this time versus having to cook them through. Okay.
Yeah, question. Is there any baking powder in the flour for the chicken?
No, I do not use any baking powder in it. If you wanted that battery type things, you could add some and it will give you more of a puffy crust on it. But I also find buttermilk and lemon juice does a great job with this. But this is just a simple, crispy, not really a battered base, more of just a breaded, like a panko breaded fried chicken. Here we go. We're going to get all this parsley. Let's see. We're down to the very end of it. We're going to give a nice little mince through of it. And this is going to be used in our herby sour cream, which will be delicious. Okay. And just mincing it over until it's nice and fine because you don't want any really big leaves in there. Okay, let's check our potatoes now. I think they should be ready. I'm gonna find my biggest one. We're gonna poke it in. Yep, this is really soft. I can show you if I smush with my fingers, I can just smush all the way through, which is what you want for my fork, not my fingers. Okay, let me grab. We're gonna drain them first. I'll let them sit for a second. I've got my second frying pan over here. I'm gonna turn this on, start heating it up. I'm gonna get a little bit of butter. And we're gonna fry this. We're gonna put some garlic in here too. And it's gonna be kind of like a garlic, crispy garlic smashed potato. But you want a good covering of butter. So we're gonna do about 4 tablespoons. And we're gonna let it melt over and kind of cover a nice thin layer. Then we'll add in some of our garlic. There we go. I'm gonna get a bowl for our herby sour cream. So just gonna use regular sour cream. Let me grab a spoon too. We're gonna take just a couple. It wants to scoop out with me. There we go. This is going to be served on top of our smashed potatoes.
Did you have a question? How do you know the chicken's done without using a thermometer?
Really by the time and like how long it cooks, and if you give it a squeeze, if it's firm when you squeeze it with the tongs, you'll know that it's ready and cooked all the way through. The parboiling helps with that because it allows you to know when it's cooked. Like it cooks it more, so you don't need to fry it quite as long. We're gonna flip everything kind of over. We're gonna do like a 3 like kind of twists on them. There we go. But that parboiling, whoop, that was a little pop there, is that it heats the bone up of the chicken, and the bone is a really good conductor of heat. So it helps it cook from the inside out, which is, I will say, it's a game changer when making fried chicken. It really does make it to where you don't have to fry it so long on the on the frying pan and then worry about having a burnt fried chicken versus a yummy, scrumptious, crispy golden outside with a tender, juicy inside. And I will say, you do the parboil for 5 minutes, and then it's about, I want to say, like 3 to 4 minutes on each side. And then you should have a chicken that's cooked all the way through for the drumsticks. Now, thighs would take a little bit longer because they're a bit more meaty, and you have that pocket where there isn't really a bone in them. Grab my spoon from the sour cream here.
You have a question? How do you keep the breading crisp after they're done?
We're going to put them on paper towels on a baking sheet, and that paper towels will pull out that residual grease, which will allow it to stay crispy. If you just put it on a plate or a tray, it will get soggy because it's sitting in the grease, and you want that to suck away to keep it nice and dry. You could also pop it on a drying rack if you wanted to and let the grease like drip down, as long as you're not putting it on like a flat surface where it can't suck up. We're going to add about a teaspoon of garlic salt to our sour cream here. We're going to mix it up. And this is just going to give us a really lovely herby sour cream. But before I finish mixing that, it looks like my butter is just about ready over here. There we go. So I'm really trying to coat all the way around. We're going to put in a little bit of garlic, just about a tablespoon of garlic. Will give it a really great flavor. I'm going to mix it around. I'm going to turn my heat down just a little bit because we don't want it to get burned. But these will be so good. So we've got this nice kind of butter, brown buttered with a crispy little bits of garlic on it. And then what we're going to do is you're going to take your potatoes that you boiled. We're going to layer them down here. And this is the part where it can get a little messy. So I always take a sheet of parchment paper, but if you don't want to, you could just use the bottom of your pan. But take your pan you boiled them in and smash them down.
Oh yeah, question, was it garlic salt or garlic powder that you just added to?
That was garlic salt. So it gives it a nice little bit of a salty flavor to it, which I think is great. And I will say I'm a lover of garlic salt. It just has so much more flavor. Okay. These should be nice and smashed. And we're going to let them kind of crisp up on low heat on the bottom there. And these will be so delicious. And then you'll serve them with our herby sour cream over here. So let me get my baking sheet out for our fried chicken because our first set is about to come up.
You have comments that Flowers garlic salt should sponsor you.
Yeah, they really probably should. Okay, let me go. Do you want to zoom in? I gotta grab another roll of paper towels because look, both of mine are empty. But it should. We keep them right in our garage. Okay. Got our paper towels. I swear, growing up as a kid, we never used paper towels. Those were like the rare instances. And now I go through paper towels as if I'm like Elon Musk, a billionaire, and have endless amounts of money to spend.
Yeah, but can you go over the dreading one more time?
Yes. And we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you are going to create this later at home and you just can't remember, you can always find this video and look. But I'll go through it real quick. So we start with a flour dredge, about 2 cups. We added 2 tablespoons of like Mrs. Dash's. This is just Costco's version of Mrs. Dash's. We added a tablespoon of garlic salt, a tablespoon of oregano, about 2 teaspoons of black pepper, about 2 teaspoons of Old Bay. Mix it all together, dredge the chicken in it. Then we added panko breadcrumbs into it. And then you go from your dredged chicken into the eggs and then into the flour with the panko breadcrumbs. Okay. Let me get a new tongs out for this. Let's see how they're looking here. I'm now going to just turn them one more side because sometimes you have one edge that needs just a little bit more goldening up. Okay. These little guys are just about done. So let's mix our sour cream. We stopped halfway, so let's finish it. There we go. And this is just going to go right on top of our crispy fried potatoes. And
I got a question. Do you have to add breadcrumbs?
you don't have to add breadcrumbs. You could do it straight into a second, coating of it after the egg wash. The breadcrumbs, these are panko ones. They give you a bigger crunch, which are delicious. It gives you that extra crispy chicken flavor, which is what you want. Okay. Let's grab our sourdoughs really quick, and then we'll take these out. I want to make sure I have my space cleared over here because they're going to be coming in hot. And okay. Beautiful. We've got our lovely sourdough edges here. They're gorgeous. I did a 1.5 loaf on these, but they are popped up. Other than the ones that got stuck on the top of my little bowls, they all turned out pretty beautiful. Let me grab 2 trivets over here. We're going to slide this right over here. And We're going to take these out because you want to remove them about as soon as you get out. So this is our first one. This is cheddar, cheese, and green onions. This looks like our cinnamon roll one. This one with the kind of brown spots on the top, those are chocolate chips. So that's a mini chocolate chip one. Here is our just mini plain sourdough. Oh, that one's my cardamon lime. This is my cinnamon roll one. I can see the cinnamon on it. Look at how beautiful these are. And this last but definitely not least, doesn't want to come out for me, is my Italian herbs and cheese in here. So these are our beautiful mini sourdough loaves using our basic recipe. Just delicious. In there, and you can bake them up in like a mini Dutch oven, and they're just so cute. Okay. Let's get these out. This is our first batch coming out. We've got a golden, crispy edges here on our chicken. And I always try to put it the grease side down. That just allows it to stay nice and crispy. There we go. And let's add in our last bit. Get these cooking up. And beautiful. These are going to be so good. I love a good fried chicken. Okay, we are done with this. We've got those cooking in there. Let's look at our crispy fried potatoes. Let me grab a better spatula. They should have a nice, we're going to flip them over as best we can. Try to get both sides nice and crispy. So this is, you can see we've got this nice little kind of garlic buttered flavor on there. And let's get them all flipped over. I like to crisp them up both sides. Now, if you want to at home, you could just do one side crispy and then they're not quite as messy, but they taste better when you crisp them on both sides. There we go. And then what we'll do is once we've got them all flattened over, we're going to go over with our spatula and smush them back down again. Man overboard. There we go. These should all be flipped over. Now just kind of go back over. Give them a good smush. And then what I like to do is just add a little bit of butter throughout, and it will melt through and it'll help crisp up those bottom layers. You don't need to add too much, but just a little bit on top. And we're going to sprinkle this top layer with a little bit of garlic salt so they're a bit seasoned, because you know we boiled them and then we did garlic, fresh garlic and butter. Just add a little bit of salt on the top. I don't do it on the first layer because I don't want the spices to crisp over. So just add, you know, about a teaspoon or so on there. Okay, let's slide this over. We can get our next pan up because we are just, we'll make this and then we should be able to serve up. This is going to be our spinach, our Parmesan spinach. Takes like 2 minutes to cook. So this is the one you want to wait till the very end to do it. We're going to use a little bit of butter. That's about a tablespoon of butter. Just going to get the rest of my little wrapper in there. Waste not, want not, especially with the price of butter nowadays. There we go. I've got my heat. We're going to melt this butter. We'll add in a little bit of garlic. And then we're going to saute up our spinach until it's wilted. And then we add Parmesan cheese over the top. And it is just so delicious. I've been making this since I was like a kid, since I was in middle school. It's one of my favorite ways to do spinach. So we're going to melt that up. I will say fried chicken, boiling stuff, baking in the oven. I'm getting nice and toasty here. Where's my drink? Okay. There. Want to make sure I'm turning up the right burner. It would not be good to turn up the fried chicken one. There we go. Now that we've got a little bit of the butter melted, we're going to add in some garlic. You just want to make sure you have a little layer on the bottom of it. Otherwise, it won't, you could burn your garlic. Just need about a teaspoon because spinach wilts a lot and the garlic flavor will really come through. There we go. I'm going to check on my chicken here. See how it's getting nice and golden. We'll do our little turn. And I'm going to rotate because this side is getting a little hotter than the other one. And we're going to add in our spinach. So you want to use fresh spinach for this, not frozen, because if you use frozen, it's just going to be really waterlogged. And I will say, this big bunch of fresh spinach is going to wilt down to nothing, but I kind of put it in batches so it doesn't go everywhere. So we're going to put this first part in, and then we're just going to flip it. And, of course, it's already going everywhere. And just turn it in there and let it wilt up. This will cook in like no time. Let's check on our potatoes over here. You can see that butter, it has melted all the way through. I'm just going to lift up, see how they're crisping. Good job. I'm going to turn this up a smidge. I had it on a 4. We're going to move it up to a 5, get that final crispy layer into this. And you know what? I think I'm going to add a little bit of pepper onto it because I think that will be delicious. Just a pinch. There we go. I'm super excited about our sourdough. I did like a loaf and a half when I did it. So I divided that loaf and a half out into 6 little bowls here, which is the bougie word for saying like a small round loaf. But this is our regular one. But you take them out of your Dutch ovens right away so that they have a nice golden brown crust. If you leave them in there too long, then they will get brown and burnt on the bottom. So beautiful. This one's darker up here because those are chocolate chips. And they kind of bursted through. And chocolate chips, if they burst through that layer at the top, it's hard not for them to turn brown, but this still tastes delicious. So it's not that the bread is burnt, it's just that the chocolate is toasted. There we go. Okay, we're starting to get a good wilt on here. There we go. So with spinach, it wilts fast and quick. That's why you want to wait till the very end to do it. Otherwise, your spinach will be nothing. It's funny how your big vat of spinach can literally shrink down to about a cup. It's a great way. I prefer to eat this than over a spinach salad because it has more flavor. We're going to add in the last bit of my spinach here. There we go. And we're going to give this a little turn. And then we're going to put a little bit of garlic salt in. I always wait towards the end to do it because you don't want that garlic salt to kind of burn on the bottom. And you want to have this all in there, start going. And the trick is you want to get this to be wilted spinach versus soggy spinach. So you want to turn it off once it starts to look like when they all look like that leaves. You don't want to keep cooking it from there because if you do, it's going to really get down to nothing. Okay. So I've got these turned. Let's add our garlic salt. Give that a quick toss, and then we're going to add a layer of Parmesan cheese on the top. So just sprinkle it with a thin layer of garlic salt to give you that extra garlicky flavor. There we go.
Yeah, question. Have you ever made string spinach?
I have made cream spinach. I was actually going to make cream kale tonight, but I was out of cream. And I do love a good cream spinach. I think it's delicious. This one's a little bit fresher tasting, not as rich, but it's still delicious. You could even add pine nuts into this for a little texture. Okay, so we've got ours kind of to the perfect wilted right here. And now what you want to do is you want to turn it off. And then you're going to add in a thin layer of Parmesan cheese over the top of it, which will then melt. But you want to make sure you turn it off and that residual heat will melt it. Don't stir it in because you want it to be a Parmesan layer on the top, not mixed all the way through. There we go. And it will be delicious. Okay. We're going to give our chicken a quick turn here. And then we can actually start plating up our first set because everything else is done. And these will be our last things coming out. But I won't make you guys here wait for me to finish these frying off. So let's get our dinner plated here. I got that off. Beautiful. So let's start. I'm going to do cheddar cheese and green onions. So we're going to cut through. I'll give you guys a reveal on this one. Look at our beautiful sourdough roll right there. So beautiful. This has our cheddar cheese and the green onions in there. So we'll do half of it with our dinner. We're going to do a nice serving of our, don't fall away, our crispy smashed potatoes with a dollop of our herbed sour cream, which will be scrumptious. Our spinach with Parmesan. And then last but definitely not least, we're going to have our fried chicken. So just a yummy, pretty quick dinner on a Sunday night that will be pretty fabulous for everyone. Again, our sourdough rolls, our sour cream topped over our smashed potatoes, our spinach, garlic, Parmesan spinach, and our fried chicken. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, show you what we're making for our family, hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you want to recreate these recipes at home, you can just go to that link, find the video, and cook along with me again. Well, guys, thanks again for joining us here tonight.